Oh, it's that time of week again. We're inducting you fine friends into the Stokastic Hall of Fame, giving out some free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum. And all you got to do to get it is download the Stokastic profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stokastic, HOF. It's Stokastic Hall of Fame on Twitter, and win a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. $120 value when you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Or if you got a nice win, maybe it doesn't qualify and you're just looking for a shout out, maybe we can oblige. Let's get into it. Some great ones heading into this week. First up, Bob Kramatola? We'll call him Bob C here. In the 333K Mega 8, 100K to first, takes it down in the NBA. Woke up to this today. What a way to wake up. Thank you, Stokastic Hall of Fame. Yeah, fantastic way to wake up, Bob. And then Steve Buzzard also woke up to something nice. Woke up aiming for another milli. Unfortunately, came up a bit short. That's Steve's 19th six-figure win this season. Man's working hard behind the scenes. It's Stokastic every day, so you know what tools he's using. And then finally coming up here, I thought we had another waking up, but we don't. Thanks for assisting me in understanding DFS. Love it. Punched a ticket. Jay Lusty punching a ticket on FanDuel. Huge win. I told you we had some big wins this week. And then taking a trip to the Island.
But it depends, where each group stands as far as legislation. And some sides are against online poker, but for online DFS, but against sports betting at the same time. It's really, really strange. So yeah, I'm not up to it. All I know is in Jersey we've got everything. It's great, except for No House Advantage, the site we're about to do the show for. Yeah. What's happening, Stokastic basketball fans? I'm Terry McBride. Welcome to the NBA strategy show for No House Advantage. I'm joined by my pal Gundacker once again. Gun's going to take us through everything up and down for this slate. We've got a solid looking set of games tonight. It's a nice meaty little slate. I think there's some decent prize pools across the industry for a change. The last couple of days been a little thin on the basketball end, but we're back in full swing here with No House, and we're looking forward to getting into this slate in a little bit and hearing what you think about it, Gun. But how was your weekend? How's your week starting out?
It's a solid weekend. I've been waiting for these 6 to 8 game slates for the DFS side, and we finally get one tonight, so I'm excited for that. Tons of news right as we went live. Andrew Wiggins officially rolled out, so
I hadn't seen that.
Joins a decent list of opportunities that we have. I think we talked about before we went live, Ja Morant not gonna play tonight, so that's a massive usage guy that's off the slate. So there's definitely going to be some opportunities from the DFS side, but even more so on the No House side, where these static lines that maybe weren't considering these guys being in or out already, and we know how soft their lines could be as is, so we have even more opportunity to take advantage of this news. So I'm excited to see what we can come up with it.
Yep, absolutely. We'll take a look at a couple of those different spots that are created by this injury news. Maybe we'll be able to identify something that's either sitting in our projections or maybe hasn't quite come through the projections yet, because some of this late breaking news probably hasn't been accounted for in at least the update I'm looking at, because I put it in my spreadsheet like 20 minutes ago. But yeah, we'll find all those things. And like you said, there's static lines out there. So they do that to create these opportunities in these tournaments. And they also provide a lot of room on some of these lines to create some of these opportunities for their against the field contest. There's 2 ways to play over at No House, as everybody's probably heard by now. You can go against the house, win up to 20 times your entry fee on your card if you get them all right, but you're playing with much thinner lines, much more sports book type lines, where this one leaves a lot of meaty lines on the table. And we're talking about some 88 percenters, some 90 plus percenters. So we'll get into some of those. We'll go game by game. No House Advantage is, of course, the presenting sponsor of the show. We'll do the full plug in a couple of minutes, but let's dive in here, Gun. And by the way, hit hit the like button, the subscribe, all of those good things. That helps us out, makes everybody realize that people are watching our little No House NBA shows here every day. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We usually get a nice little audience in here, and everybody does show us the love. But hit the subscribe too. Make sure that you're also taking advantage of these shows. They're all available in podcast form as well. So if you download a podcast, give it a 5-star review. That also helps us out a lot. I'm just dropping the link to the show in the old NBA Discord there. If you sign up at the site too, make sure you guys jump in Discord. We have some great discussions. There's been the DFS 101 channel's been killing it all day long today. There's just been a good getting started in NBA DFS conversation going on in there, talking about some higher level stuff related to like ownership and simulations in the main basketball channel. So check out the Discord if you guys are in there. Gun, let's dive into this thing. I've done enough talking. Let's start us out. Let's take a look real quick. I just sorted to Golden State to see if there's any downstream impact that we can find from that Wiggins news. He was sitting at the top of the board in the overs with an 89.8%er to make his threes. Does that have any impact taking him off the board on the Klay Thompson threes made, which was also sitting 86%, or maybe even more the Steph Curry threes made? He was sitting at 72% to go over his 4.5 total. Does Wiggins coming off the court impact either of those, or does it impact anything else in your mind from any of these other lines?
I think it would matter who comes on the court for the Wiggins there, because if it went to like a Jonathan Kuminga, I would think it just helps Klay and Steph a little bit more. And then if it went to like a Jordan Poole, the 3-guard set, then I think it could just be kind of confusing and might hurt everyone. Jordan Poole's also questionable, so if he ends up being out, then I really like the Klay Thompson overs and the Stephs as usual. But I'm not sure. They might use Moses Moody, which is maybe a lateral impact. So I don't think it's going to change much for what we might expect for Klay and Steph. And I think that just makes the Klay prop more lucrative. I think we had this conversation last with the Klay, Steph, and Andrew Wiggins threes.
Yep, we were talking about all three of them. Yep.
So I would just feel a little bit stronger about Klay to hit that over at 2.5 and not really think it's going to be a detriment to anyone else's shot volume.
Yeah, that's a nice meaty line already. Sitting at 2.5, we've got him projected to go at 3.92. So we're talking about a lot of room there at 86%. And if you figure, hey, maybe he does pick up an extra couple of attempts, he's already taking 9.7 a game. So it's, within reason, a couple additional of attempts. But you're right. If it becomes Poole, if it becomes Moody, those attempts might just transition from Wiggins to them instead of, being kicked over to Klay and Steph. Does it do anything for you on like the PRA for either of those guys? Does it increase the idea that, hey, maybe there's a little bit more to do in terms of rebounding, in terms of facilitation?
So that's where I would be looking for. So they thinking about who could play. It could be Jonathan Kuminga, it could be Moody, it could be Dante DiVincenzo, it could be Jordan Poole. And all those players are kind of have like their own archetype that feels a little bit different. All things being equal, it is a double-digit point spread, and the Pacers are without Halliburton. So the likeliest game script is a blowout, and we might lose a chunk of the fourth quarter. But I expect if Jonathan Kuminga's a benefactor of Wiggins being out and plays more minutes, I think he'll stuff the stat sheet a little bit more in terms of peripherals, which, for PRA that might pull away from some of the others. But I think with Steph and Klay, I'm never looking at anything other than their points and threes anyway. So I'm not going to get pulled too far away. So yes and no, but it really comes down to who Steve Kerr throws out there, because Wiggins represents a good chunk of grunt work guy. And if it's Kuminga, then I think it could be a lateral with maybe less shot volume.
Okay. Yep. I like that. I think it's a pretty solid breakdown. And yeah, it'll just be interesting to see how they attack it and what they do with that starting lineup. So let's keep an eye on that as we crash towards lock later on in the day. Well, let's jump over back to the board here. We'll sort by the unders to start, because there are two strong probability unders. They're both with Gary Trent Jr. One's the PRA, one's the rebounds alone. We've got 96.6 probable to go under on his 23.5 PRA line. Why don't we start there? What do we think of Gary Trent Jr. just in general as far as this Boston at Toronto game?
Yeah, Trent's been pretty popular on these unders lately. What we saw Nick Nurse do was really relegate Trent to the bench, and they've been starting Koloko, Siakam, Scotty Barnes, Fred VanVleet, and Anunoby. And theoretically, you would think, it's less less minutes implied for Gary Trent. We've seen him kind of be dangerous flirting with this line. He dropped 35 real points against the Pelicans, but outside of that, just kind of a scoring dependent only guy. So he also gets some steals, but that's not going to impact us here. So we're kind of hoping that he stays under like 16 to 18 real points to not have a big sweat here. But I would have to lean with the projection here. Boston, tougher defense. The only pushback here is this game might be a little bit more competitive, where they might look for some more scoring at times. But I would generally agree with the under, but this line's getting smaller and smaller by the day.
Yep. Yeah, this was a pretty tight line. There was a lot of chat earlier in the day in the Discord channels as well. Just wondering at Boston being an underdog earlier in the day. Probably no Marcus Smart. Is he officially out, or I forget whether that was confirmed or not.
I don't have him officially out yet, but
okay. Yeah. So actually, it looks like he's not on the injury report now. So
okay,
that's back for them, so maybe that brought them even closer. So yeah, there was a little bit of discussion about that, was all I was going to throw in there, and got a little sidetracked with that thought. So the Gary Trent rebounding also on the board, 90.7% probable to go under the 3.5, and really we've got him cut down to a 25.4 minute projection. He's been averaging 31, and he's been still well under that line at 20.2 as a PRA average. So I think we got a lot of clearance on either one of those. Do you have any specific thoughts? Would you go away from the rebounding and lean toward the PRA, or do you play both of them?
It's kind of funny because I think if we're taking the PRA, we're really just sweating that he doesn't get like 3 or 4 rebounds, because he could have anywhere from 16 to 20 real points. So I guess I would just try and take the bigger number on the PRA, the blanket, and hope that it'll get fluked out on a 5 rebound game. So I would take the PRA, but that's only because it's a larger number.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and that bears out in the math at the top of the board there. Sitting at an 88.5% popular rookie, Paolo Banchero, 2.5 3-pointers, sitting at 88.5% to go under that one. Do you have a read on Banchero here? Pretty much a standard projection as far as his minutes go today.
Yeah, he doesn't shoot with great efficiency and doesn't shoot with great volume in terms of chucking threes. Maybe I'm robbing him a little bit on efficiency, but his shot volume is very, very low for a guy that can take 15 to 20 shot attempts. I'm always scared about the 3-point props against the Bucks because I typically target them for 3-pointers, but I don't think that he's the guy that they want chucking. The injury report for the Magic is pretty crazy. Jalen Suggs, Ukeke, Jonathan Isaac, Gary Harris, Wendell Carter. So there is plenty of minutes there for Banchero, and we might expect him to lead the team in minutes. But at the same time, game script is not on his side in terms of what the team might need if the sense of urgency to score is elevated. They are 9.5 home dogs, which is actually lower than I thought. So I would be in agreement with the projection leaning the under. But if this scoreboard gets away, I'd be there. It seems unlikely that he's going to drain 3-3. So I would take the under on the 3-point prop, but it might be one of those where he still hits the over on his real point prop, but the under on the 3-point prop.
Has he made 3? I'm pulling up the game log real quick. It looks like he's made 3 just once this entire season. Yeah, and he's not, like you said, on volume, he's taking 3.6 a game. He's making 0.9. We're talking about a 25.8% 3-point shooting percentage right now. Granted, this is probably going to change as he, gets into the league. He's 17 games into his NBA career, had an injury in there. And it looks like he took, the last couple of games, he took 5, 2, 4, 1, 4. So not a lot of volume, and we need him to make 3. I like that spot. I think that makes a ton of sense. You're right, though. That is a little bit tighter of a line than I would have expected, especially with them missing so many pieces against Milwaukee here. What about in the same game, Cole Anthony? His PRA sitting at 26.5, another strong probability on the under here for Cole Anthony. What do you see? What do you see from him?
I don't know what the Magic are doing. So I don't know if you've been tracking, but they've been starting Fultz on a minute restriction, right? Yep. And it's been like 15 and then 15-minute restriction, and he plays 30 basically. And then the next game they say, well, we're gonna give him a few more minutes on his restriction. He plays 19.
Yeah.
So with him restricted, and then Jalen Suggs being down, and the game script being what it is, where you likely expect the necessity for guards, but then you have to like, do they care about winning? It's a whole process. I would agree, as long as he's not the starter here, I would agree with the under and probably have an expectation of 25 minutes ish for him. So I'd take the under, but it definitely feels like it has an opportunity to get a little trolly here, because of the laundry list of outs and the game script being what it is. But even Cole Anthony's not been one of those guys to chuck double-digit threes. So yeah, I would take the under here. But if he started, I probably wouldn't feel as confident.
Okay. Yeah. Looking at his threes, 4 a game, taking 4 a game, making 1.6, shooting about 40% from 3 so far this season in the very small sample. We're talking about 7-ish games. But we've got him projected 26.7 minutes. So like dead on what you were saying there. Over the course of the season so far in 28 minutes, he's put up a 23.4. So it feels a little tighter maybe than what we're giving it credit for. We've got him projected at 21.5 against the 26.5 line, but it does feel a little bit tight. So maybe, like we say, maybe not the warm and fuzziest of these picks, but maths out to about an 85%er to go under. So it's definitely on the board, at least for some consideration. Let's flip over. We'll jump to the overs here, and we'll take a look up toward the top. We talked about Clay. We talked about the Wiggins absence there. We've got not a lot in the upper 80s. We dropped down to 82.5% on an over for Clint Capela. Rebounding prop for Capela, 11.5 line. Seems like a meaty one, but he's been averaging right around that. We've got him projected a little higher. What do you think of Clint Capela to go over 11.5 rebounds?
Yeah. So this is the dream spot. They are 6.5 point home favorites here. It's a meaty total, 237.5, and there still is no John Collins. His direct backup is still there. Usually with Capela, I worry about his second half minutes because of his inept free throw ability, but I don't know that this is one of the spots that I'm going to be worried about him getting hacked, and his rebound rate is ridiculous. So I would agree that this could be one of those 15 plus rebound games for him. But it comes down to him playing the 30 plus minutes. And I gotta assume without John Collins that the minutes should be there, especially against a team like this. So I would agree with it.
Yeah, we've got him projected at 29, and you could easily see him trending north of 30. And with it limited, I don't think he's going like 38 or something like that. But you could definitely see him, trending a little bit north of 30 and having plenty of room to get there. And like we said before, coming into the question, 27.8 minutes a night, he's already averaging 12, a 20.1% rebounding percentage. So I mean, he's just had a great season on the boards. I do think that one makes a ton of sense. Let's take a look real quick at the old promo here for these guys, for our pals over at No House Advantage. We like No House Advantage so much that we're giving you $50 to go play there. How about that? There's a $50 deposit match bonus if you go over to No House Advantage. You follow the link that's down there in the chat, and you put your money in up to $50. We're going to match it. So you double up your money in instantly just by signing up, just by going over to No House Advantage. Then you're going to be playing on a fun, new, dynamic way to play fantasy sports. It's a great site. Everything works on player props. If you have somehow not picked that up yet during the course of this show, what we're talking about here, you can play against the field, where you're ranking these by confidence. And these are the picks that we're talking about on this show, where there's broad lines. There's a lot of different room. There's static lines that don't change. You can win up to 25 grand if you win that contest. That's playing against guys like Galax, guys like Gundacker here. You can also play against the house. You can win 20 times your entry fee if you max out your card against the house. You bet up to 5 player props, picking the over-unders on or individual player props. They have all the different sports. So we've got NFL, we've got NBA, we've got college football. There's still a little bit of World Cup left. So that's going on right now. I was watching the Japan versus Croatia game, and Japan dropped the ball late in the game. I was rooting for them. I like rooting for the teams that, quote unquote, aren't supposed to be there. And Japan was one of those. Little surprising performance for Japan. So I was rooting for them to get by Croatia. Didn't quite get there, but you guys can sign up. You can get over to No House Advantage by clicking the link below. Get that first match deposit bonus. Make sure you're taking advantage of our free lineup generator, our free projections for No House over at the site when you're building these lineups. There's overlay in all these contests for the Against the Field contest. It is a great way to make money, and it's a fun new kind of way to play fantasy sports. Check out No House Advantage today. Gun, about 9-10 minutes left in the old show here. Let's take a look. Let's stick with the overs. Let's go with a guy who should see, a little bit of increased usage, a little bit of increased action. Buddy Hield, looking at his threes made, 2.5 is the line. Like you said at the top of the show, no Halliburton tonight. Well, I think we're still waiting on the McConnell news, so there should just be some opportunities on the court today for the Pacers here. What do we like about Buddy Hield? You think he's going to crack that 2.5 line?
Yeah, I think he's got a chuck. Not only is a primary ball handler, Tyrese Halliburton not going to play, but the game script is going to be favorable for playing from behind, like in football, where we expect more pass attempts. We expect more 3-pointers on a team that's likely going to be trailing to the Golden State Warriors at home. So Buddy Hield will likely lead the team in shot volume and 3-pointer attempts, and I think this could be one of those games where he takes 12, 15 shots from behind the arc. So, yeah, I think I would be in agreement with the over there.
Yeah, like you said, just on game script alone and the opponent here and all the threes we're expecting out of Clay and Steph, you could just see Buddy getting caught up in that. We're talking about a guy who's already taking 9.3 a game on the average. You could just see Buddy getting caught up in that and just saying, oh, all right, we're chucking tonight. All right, let's go. And gunning like 15 shots here. So, yeah, I think we've got a ton of clearance. Just out of the averages, we're pulling the 3.6 projection. So we're well over that on the average. We've got him right at his average minutes. So I see a lot of upside in that one. That one feels even a little stronger, I think, than the 80.3% just on narrative and, game script and situation and everything. So mass out to an 80%er, but it feels a little bit better than that. Let's jump back over to the unders here. I think there were a couple stronger unders. A couple other Banchero ones are on the board there with the assists, with the PRA. Cole Anthony also on the board for his threes. I think all of that kind of falls into most of the analysis you already gave for the other picks. So one that's kind of hanging in the middle there from Charlotte, Kelly Oubre. 3-pointers made, 3.5. We've got him projected pretty far under that in a pretty large complement of minutes. We've got him at 35.8 minutes and still going well under that. So what are you seeing for Kelly Oubre Jr.?
Yeah, it's kind of Banchero-esque, where there's a guy that could take 20 shot attempts in a game, but only chucks maybe 4 or 5 and doesn't shoot for a high efficiency. So against the Clippers here, expect this to be a neutral to pace down game. And if we're dealing with a healthier version of the Hornets sans LaMelo, where Terry Rozier is involved, Jalen McDaniel is involved, PJ Washington, there's plenty of other shooters on the court here. So this is a very meager total. So I would expect it. Yeah, whenever there's a below average total, a good spot to maybe attack below average averages. So I'm with it.
Yeah, I think that one makes a ton of sense. Just on the existing volume and all the numbers that are just kind of staring us in the face with that one. Even with that big complement of minutes, we've got them projected well under that. Just for since somebody in the chat just threw it in, we've got Tyler Schust in the chat. I hope I pronounced that right. Shoist. Tyler in the chat. He says he vows not to let Spencer Dinwiddie burn him on another 3-point prop ever again. So let's take a look at Spencer Dinwiddie's 3-point prop. It's the second highest on the board for the Dallas Mavericks, sitting at 73.1 to go over a 1.5 3-point prop. What do we think on that one?
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, he's certainly a trolley results guy. Put in perspective, we talk about range of outcomes in our industry. His last 3 games, 3-point attempts, 8-1-4. That's a wide range of shot volume. And in the game prior against the Pistons, his former team, by the way, he took 2 total field goal attempts. And then the next game took 16. So there's really little rhyme or reason in Spencer Dinwiddie's involvement, it feels like. And this is a guy that could go out there and drop 25 points or drop 2. So I would agree with the volatility there. More of a DFS 150 range of outcomes. This could happen 6% of the time play. If you're making 1 or 2 cards on NHA, I certainly wouldn't have warm or fuzzy, especially on a slate this big. I wouldn't feel ultra compelled to have to commit to a Dinwiddie decision.
Yeah, plenty of stronger picks by the numbers on the board. It does math out at 73.1. We've got him projected at 2.25 against the 1.5 line. You need him to hit the 2, right? So we're saying he's going to hit 2, probably a little bit over 2, and they're saying you need to get that 2. So it's a little bit close, but he's taking 6.5 a game, shooting almost 40% from 3. We'll give him that. But yeah, one of the more frustrating players to have frequently and have volume on in 150 lineups across DFS. He'll get you there from time to time, but when you're not hitting those times frequently enough, it's so frustrating to have him. So I'm with you on that one. Let's pull up the full board again here. We'll make sure.
I got one that we should probably talk about.
What do you got?
He's going to be very polarizing tonight on both sides. It's Dillon Brooks without Ja Morant tonight, and no Desmond Bane, and no Jaren Jackson. His usage rate since the beginning of last year in that split is well above 30%. And his results can also feel very Spencer Dinwiddie-esque. For perspective, 3 of his last 5 games without Ja Morant, he's put up about 30 or more real points. And then there's a 12 and a 19. But this is one of those spots where we bank on usage, we bet on usage, and the volume should be there. He should lead this team in shot volume. His point prop on NHA is 19.5. We're projecting him at over 24. The sports books player props are going to be closer to that 24, 25 number. So the right decision, I think, where we're at now is to lean the over on that 19.5. But this is going to be a fun night if Dillon Brooks doesn't come through, because Twitter is going to be very entertaining.
Twitter will be entertaining. That's for sure. That's an interesting use of the word fun for somebody who's probably going to have them in so many lineups. So yeah, I'm curious to see how this one goes with Dillon Brooks as well. Did kind of bury the lead there on that situation in Memphis. That's a good call. Definitely going to be massive usage. It jumps from the 24.5% that he's normally getting up well above 30, like you said. And we're talking about a guy who within that 24.5, he's taking 6.4 threes a game, making 2.2, averaging 17.5 points per game already this season. In a per 36 cents, he's averaging 20.2 points per game. So we've got him projected at 36.6 minutes tonight against his normal 31.2 average. There just seems like so many more minutes, so much more to do. He's just going to have to have an atrocious night to not get there, which we know he's very capable of. So it'll be fun to see. And that's why we're sitting, 77.5%. This might be an update behind. It sounds like it should be a little higher than that. Projected it on the points line anyway, 24.5 against the 19.5 for the real life points. That feels like it should be a little bit wider than that, but maybe that's just accounting for the Dillon Brooks of it all. So another good one there, though, across the board for Dillon Brooks. I think we could definitely use that. Let's go back. What about Bam Adebayo? And one of the last 80 percenters on the board, sitting on the unders, an 11.5 prop on the rebounding line. What do you think of Bam on rebounds?
Man, so this one's rough too, because I guess no Jaren Jackson, but there's still Steven Adams. It's still a really low total. The Heat have a massive list of game time decisions. I think Spoelstra just does that for fun. I would continue to lean with our projection on the under, but certainly a door is open or ajar for a lot of trolliness to happen in 38 minutes, because Bam is a guy that will play minutes as long as that game is competitive. He's played 35 or more minutes essentially in all of his last 7 games. So the minutes will be there against a depleted front court, and a guy like Dillon Brooks who's just going to pull up. And that's kind of a different approach than what we're used to, because Ja Morant's a guy that will drive to the rack and try to hit layups, where Dillon Brooks is a guy that is more likely to pull up, which creates more rebounds, but there'll be longer rebounds. I guess what I'm saying is yes on the under, but I'm not warm and fuzzy.
Do those have a negative correlation in your mind? Dillon Brooks overs for like points or threes, and Bam rebound under? Because if he's taking a lot of volume, like there's probably going to be a lot of rebounds, right? He's not making them all. So yeah. I think that creates more rebounds. I'm just trying to think it through from the would you play those together kind of a perspective and what they would do to one another there.
I think a lot of mysteries just become long rebounds. So it really comes down to and Steven Adams is not really going to leave the paint either. So I think in that case, no, because he is playing 38 minutes. But yeah, generally I wouldn't want to expect a high volume long range shooter. with the and looking at the other side on their rebounds.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, makes sense. Let's take a look. Actually, we're at 4:01. We've already gone a minute over. How about that?
Wow.
Love this. Let's throw you the last question then. Instead of talking about one of these, find me a negative in the Philly signing of Trey Turner outside of the fact that they gave him a no trade clause across the next 11 years.
I mean,
For the next 5 years, what's the negative? What's the downside in them finding Trey Turner? I want to break Mike's heart here. He's too happy about this.
I don't think there is. The only negative is like I still don't know that their pitching's deep enough past the front end. But what a fun stack that's going to be for DFS! My goodness,
God, they're going to be so much as fun as they were last year. This is going to be ridiculous to play this year, especially after Bryce gets back healthy and halfway through the season. They're going to be absurd. So, congratulations, Mikey! You and your Phillies. Congrats. Anyway, folks, that brings us to the end of the show. We appreciate it. Gun, tell them folks where to find you. Anything to plug that you got out there?
Twitter, YouTube /Gundacker.
There you go. That's been Gundacker Gang. I'm Terry McBride. Thank you for watching the No House Advantage Strategy Show. Make sure you're checking out No House. Check out Stokastic. Free projections, free up on the lineup builds over there. Come back later on. We've got NBA Deeper Dive, NBA Live Before Lock, and NFL Live Before Lock for the single game slate. NFL all kicking off at like 5 o'clock. I think 5 to 6, 6 to 7. Yeah, that sounds right. 5 o'clock. We'll see you then. Good luck, gang.